WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 p.m. in Port Novo. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and worldwide on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. The Nigerian government said to reintegrate over 300 ex-Boko Haram fighters.
Between July and November 2024, a total of 825 clients were transferred to the DDR camp to commence training. Amongst them are 14 foreigners from Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger.
Ghana's opposition executive drags President Mahama to court over presidential directive. And the 65th conference on the West African College of Surgeons kicks off in Mali.
We have carried out a first free surgery campaign from 10th to 13th February in Bamako and Kati, which allowed us to operate 696 patients for free.
ECOWAS Commission President Dr. Omar Ali Toure applauds Senegal and Guinea-Bissau President for promoting regional cooperation. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and welcome to our listeners in Gambia, Ghana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. We begin the bulletin in Nigeria, where a total of 381 former Boko Haram fighters are scheduled to be reintegrated into their respective states as part of the government's ongoing radicalization and rehabilitation efforts. According to WADR's Abuja correspondent, this development follows the surrender of over 3,000 insurgents and their family members since the launch of Operation Safe Corridor, or PSC. Here is Usman Umar.
In 2016, the Nigerian government launched Operation Safe Corridor, a rehabilitation and reintegration project aimed at low-risk, repentant Boko Haram fighters. During a stakeholders meeting convened to finalize plans for transferring rehabilitated individuals to national and state authorities for integration, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, announced that the current batch of 381 former fighters has been properly profiled and is ready for reintegration. Represented by the Chief of Defense Policy and Plans, Air Vice Marshal Shayo Olatunde, the CDS emphasized that Operation Safe Corridor was established in response to the mass surrender of Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa's province ISWAP members following sustained military pressure and coordinated stakeholders' efforts.
Between July and November 2024, a total of 825 clients were transferred to the DDR camp to commence training. Amongst them are 14 foreigners from Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. It is also important to mention that 22 clients were subsequently transferred to the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital Maiduguri for further evaluation and management.
The initiative aligns with Nigeria's constitutional provisions and international human rights laws, aiming to rehabilitate and reintegrate former fighters back into society through a structured, multi-agency approach. Since the program's inception in 2016, records indicate that Operation Safe Corridor has processed a total of 2,190 individuals, including 2,163 Nigerians and 27 foreign nationals from Cameroon, Chad, and Niger. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
In Ghana, President John Dramani Mahama has issued a warning to his appointed officials regarding potential sanctions, including removal from office if they do not declare their assets by March 31, 2025. President Mahama's statement on Tuesday followed his own assets declaration to the Audit Service in accordance with the constitutional requirement specified in Article 286 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution, as well as the Public Office Declaration of Assets and Disqualifications Act of 1998. From Accra, WADR's Nadir Tete completes the story.
On Tuesday, February 18, 2025, President John Dramani Mahama officially submitted his assets portfolio to the Audit Service. This was in compliance with the constitutional requirement outlined in Article 286 of the 1992 Constitution and the Public Office Declaration of Assets and Disqualification Act 1998, Act 550. The declaration received by Auditor General Johnson Ikwamwa Esiedu provides details of the President's properties and assets. Following his lead, President Mahama has instructed all his appointees to declare their assets by March 31, 2025, with consequences, including removal from office for non-compliance.
I've taken this step of presenting these forms publicly as a way of injecting some openness and transparency into the process of assets declaration. I've asked the Chief of Staff to send word to all appointees to ensure that they declare their assets by the end of the first quarter of this year, that is by 31st March 2025.
The President also emphasized the need to strengthen the asset declaration regime through the ongoing constitutional review process to address loopholes and ensure greater compliance and accountability.
I believe that we must move to a regime where the assets so declared can be published before and after public office, so that the phenomenon of unexplained and overnight wealth, obviously earned through the proceeds of corruption, can be checked.
President Mahama further emphasized that the asset declaration process, if properly curated and enforced, can become a sustainable tool for fighting corruption. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
Still in Ghana, the national organizer of the opposition New Patriotic Party (NPP), Henry Nana Boake, also known as Nana B, has filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court against a presidential directive from President Dramani Mahama. Nana B alleges that Mahama's administration has violated the constitution by reversing public service appointments. The lawsuit stems from an official memo issued by Chief of Staff Julius Debra on February 10, which instructed all heads of government institutions to cancel any public sector appointments and recruitments made after December 7, 2024. According to Nanabi's lawsuit, the Chief of Staff does not possess the constitutional authority to issue such an order, deeming it unlawful. Additionally, he asserts that even if the Chief of Staff had the authority to do so, the directive still violates Article 911B of the Constitution, which mandates that public sector appointments must be made for just cause. The president of the ECOWAS Commission has praised the heads of state of Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, and Guinea-Bissau, Omar Sissoko Embalo, for their efforts in promoting regional cooperation. Dr. Omar Luture made this statement after the two leaders attended the Gambia's 60th independence anniversary on Tuesday in Banjul. He also emphasized the role that the Gambia played in the formation of the regional bloc and called for continuous collaboration among member states. In an exclusive interview, WADR's Banjul correspondent Sam Kulejanko, the ECOWAS Commission president extended his best wishes to the Gambian people on their Diamond Jubilee.
This is a major milestone, and I congratulate the President, the government, and the people of the Gambia on this important day. And I pray that God keeps the country united for a better future. And indeed, the Gambia played a key role in the foundation of ECOWAS. And as you know, ECOWAS and the Gambia continue to work together, not only for the Gambia's security, but for the regional security as well.
So we've seen two West African leader heads of state in Diomaye Faye and President of Guinea-Bissau, President Sissoko Embalo. How significant is this in terms of regional cooperation?
This is what ECOWAS stands for. ECOWAS stands for collaboration, cooperation, integration of the people, and we are happy that Their Excellencies President Diomaye Faye and President Umaru Sissoko Embalo have been able to come over to join their Gambian brothers and sisters to celebrate this important day. We are praying for a united West Africa, a region that is focused on peace and security, as well as socio-economic development of the entire region.
President of the ECOWAS Commission, Dr. Omar Aliutsure.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Remember, we're streaming live at wadr.org and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Here in Senegal, the fourth edition of the Small and Medium Enterprise Forum continues this Wednesday. The event began on Tuesday under the leadership of Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko and will conclude on Thursday, February 20, 2025. This theme is SMEs and Innovation, Levers of Sovereignty. The forum is timely as the new Senegalese authorities are focused on supporting local SMEs to implement their policy of economic sovereignty. Augustine Kole reports.
At the opening of the forum, Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko announced the implementation of a national strategy for the development of small and medium enterprises (SMEs). He stated that an allocation of 1 billion CFA francs will be disbursed towards the program this year.
We are committed to the accelerated implementation for massive financing of SMEs with the goal of increasing the amount of credit granted from 600 billion in 2024 to 3,000 billion CFA francs by 2028. I am summarizing the signing of the financing pact of 1,000 billion to finance SMEs for this year 2025.
The private sector in Senegal was also represented at this meeting, calling for more transparent management of national resources. Adama Lam, the president of the National Confederation of Employers of Senegal, was a key speaker.
Despite the demonstrated goodwill, despite the challenges, our country remains a country with enormous development potential. It is up to us to seize it.
In response to the concerns raised by the private sector, Prime Minister Sonko emphasized the importance of embodying economic patriotism.
The government has already worked on drafting a bill on economic patriotism that will soon be submitted to the National Assembly to better protect our economy. Private sector holds a central place in the options that have been ours.
The forum, organized by the Agency for the Development and Support of Small and Medium Enterprises, will continue on Thursday with approximately 30 panels and master classes, as well as a large exhibition featuring 570 stands. This year, Turkey is the guest country of honor.
Augustine Kohler reporting there. Similarly, in the Sahel region, the 65th Conference of the West African College of Surgeons kicked off in the Malian capital, Bamako. The meeting aims to significantly improve healthcare delivery in the sub-region, including Mali. It brings together more than 1,500 surgical specialists from several countries. Echatisu has the rest of the details.
The 65th West African Conference of Surgeons, held under the theme Cancers in Countries with Limited Resources, the Evolution of Care and Research, aims to enhance health systems in Mali and the Sahel region. The Malian authorities hope to review the country's health system through the annual meeting. Major General Abdoulaye Maiga is the Prime Minister of Mali.
The theme of the 65th Annual Conference aligns well with the vision of the transitional president, head of state, to equip Mali with an efficient healthcare system. Indeed, among the 8 areas outlined in the framework letter that His Excellency General Assimi Goïta, President of the Transition, head of state, sent to the government to serve as a foundation and compass, the improvement of health coverage and the development of a national solidarity system are prominently featured.
In the lead up to the conference, several initiatives have been undertaken, including care for the sick people and the training for healthcare personnel in hospitals. Abegne Togo serves as the president of the organizing committee for the West African College of Surgeons.
We have carried out a first free surgery campaign from 10th to 13th February in Bamako and Kati, which allowed us to operate 696 patients for free. We were able to train 300 health workers.
During this conference, various activities are planned, including training workshops, a free surgery campaign for 500 patients, and high-level discussions focusing on cancers, as well as war and emergency surgeries, with over 500 scientific communicators.
A report by WADR's Bamako correspondent Aliyu Cham and voiced by Eche Atisu. Now we remain in the Sahel region because Burkina Faso's economic performance has been applauded by the West African Economic and Monetary Union, UEMOA. This was stated by UEMOA's President Abdoulaye Diop following his meeting with Burkinabe Prime Minister Jean-Emmanuel Draogo on Tuesday in Ouagadougou, the nation's capital. Diop emphasized that Burkina Faso has achieved significant progress in the resource mobilization sector, which not only strengthens the country's macroeconomic stability but also enhances UEMOA's overall performance.
The meeting with the Prime Minister was also an opportunity for us to acknowledge the performance of Burkina Faso in a sector that is a priority area for the Union, for the Commission, namely resource mobilization. We noted that Burkina has achieved remarkable performance in this area, which contributes to the consolidation of the country's macroeconomic situation, but also to the performance of our Union. I would also like to remind you that in the area of transposing our community texts, Burkina Faso achieves remarkable performance every year and is among the countries that achieve the best results in this area. We acknowledged this and renewed our thanks to the Prime Minister, asking him to convey our appreciation to Mr. President of Faso for this commitment to community policy and the development of our Union.
Abdoulaye Diop is president of UEMOA. You are listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal, and stay connected via social media platforms Wadr on Instagram and X. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Nigerian government set to reintegrate over 300 ex-Boko Haram fighters. Ghana's opposition executive drags President Mahama to court over presidential directive. The 65th conference of the West African College of Surgeons kicks off in Mali. Still ahead in the news, the United Nations Children's Fund UNICEF announces a $142 million investment in Niger's education sector. We also have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Many thanks for staying with us. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has announced plans to invest $142 million into Niger's education sector. UNICEF's country representative Janabu Mahodi announced on Monday after a meeting with the Nigerian Prime Minister Mohamed Ali Lamin Zain and his cabinet. Mahodi stated that the meeting aimed to assess the progress on the submission of a crucial document and discuss important measures to advance the country's education system. He spoke of strengthening children's access to education and praised Niger's effort in ensuring that children can learn in a conducive environment by transforming the various classrooms into straw huts made from permanent materials. The meeting takes place as Niger implements measures to revamp its education sector, which has been significantly affected by severe flooding during 2024 rainy season. The heavy rains impacted nearly 4.5 million pupils across the country. Let's turn our attention to Côte d'Ivoire, where several people have been arrested in connection with this home power scam, a type of online investment. The arrest was made by the Platform for the Fight Against Cybercrime, which announced the information on its Facebook page. It reveals that SunPower is an online scam that has trapped thousands of people in Côte d'Ivoire. Christopher Ticho has more.
According to the Platform for the Fight Against Cybercrime, all individuals arrested have been handed over to the prosecutor of the Economic and Financial Crimes Division. These arrests came after 1,000 registered complaints, which enabled the Cybercrime Combating Authority, in collaboration with the Digital Criminalistic Laboratory of the Coast, to conduct thorough investigations. The investigations later confirmed that SunPower is a fraudulent organization. The Platform for Combating Cybercrime, PLCC, reports that scammers create deceptive websites that appear credible. They promise high profits with no risks, offering exceptional short-term returns based on the supposed commercialization of solar panels. Many Ivorians, convinced of the platform's legitimacy, invested significant sums of money. Unfortunately, after several weeks of investing, they encountered an unexpected issue. Their accounts were deactivated, preventing them from accessing their funds. Upon apprehending the alleged scammers, the PLCC urged the public to remain vigilant when using the internet and to report any malicious practices that could cause significant harm.
A report by WADR's Abidjan correspondent Albin Ade and voice now studios by Christopher Tichu.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's join WADR's Sankule Jankwin Banjul, the Gambia, for today's press review.
Hello there and welcome to this edition of the Press Review coming to you from Banjul, the Gambia. Of course, it's the day after independence, so let's see what the papers will have to say about the Gambia's Diamond Jubilee. But let's begin with the Standard newspaper. And the Standard newspaper's lead story today reads, Barrow preaches peace, unity at independence anniversary. Dabo says full promise of independence remains unfulfilled. After 60 years, Dabo is the opposition and leader in the Gambia. Fonyi Bintang Nam to run for president. According to the Standard newspaper, the National Assembly member for Fonyi Bintang, Honorable Bakari Baji, will run for president in the general elections next year. Interesting there. FAL says reckless government spending worsen Gambia's economic woes. Esa Fall, the former lead counsel of the Gambia's Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, who also doubles as a presidential candidate in the 2021 presidential elections. He has criticized the government for their lavish spending on the independence celebration. Let's move on to the Point newspaper for today. And the lead story for the Point newspaper is talking about the Diamond Jubilee. And it reads, Barrow discourages backway, says no land of milk and honey exist. That is the lead story on the Point newspaper regarding President Barrow's speech at the Gambia's 60th independence celebration. Alleged armed robbers of various businesses appear in court. This other one reads, Chief Justice urges continuous national dialogue. Al-Hassan B. Jallo is the Chief Justice of the Gambia. Ex-revenue collector recounts unfair dismissal, unpaid labor. Court orders anti-crime commissioner to produce items belonging to alleged PIU shooter. Gambia dispatches 22 domestic workers to Saudi Arabia. Now let's take a look at the final newspaper for today, and that is the Fourier newspaper. The lead story on the Fourier newspaper reads, beggars agree to pose strike action as they keep the price of bread at $10. This other one reads, the president highlights achievements while admitting challenges as Gambia marks 60 years. I'm afraid these are the major stories making headlines on Gambian dailies. It's back to you in the studio.
Sankule Janko there with the press review.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
The Gambia on Tuesday, February 18, 2025, celebrated its 60th anniversary in a colorful atmosphere with thousands of Gambians converged on the capital, Banjul, for the military parade and cultural exhibitions and performances. However, the country's liberation and political independence, like its neighbors far and near, was not without challenges and contributions from key players, among them women. Despite their efforts, Gambian women 6 decades down the road still live with daily ugly realities, says Degen Job, Deputy Speaker of the National Youth Parliament of the Gambia. Our guest underscored the role of women as the lifeline of the nation's economy, one of many success stories Gambian women are proud of.
First, I will start with political. And in 2016, when we really wanted Jammeh to go, yes, there was a lot of work going on. But let me say, when political actors go out on the street to really ensure that they protest against our electoral laws, and which really ignites the 2016 movement to remove Jammeh, it was women that were as part of that delegation on the streets with their brooms symbolizing the domestic tools they use at home. It was women taken to jail. It was women, unfortunately, raped in that jail. It was women tortured to ensure that today we attain the Gambia that we are able to attain. And when elections come in 2016, it was the likes of Fatmata Tambajang that actually brought together politicians to ensure that we have a coalition strong enough to remove Jammeh from power. And over the years, we have seen other women with significant contributions, women coming as aspiring presidential candidates candidates in our National Assembly elections and a lot of more women coming in our local elections. So women have been exceptional with a lot of contribution. And when it comes to economy-wise, they're the ones holding the economy of this country. They're the one engaged in horticulture that is sustaining the livelihood of this country. It is for these little earnings that they're having that they're feeding families in the Gambia. So women are doing a lot when it comes to that aspect.
You've successfully summarized the journey of women's community in the Gambia, and in addition to the continuous fight against FGM, female genital mutilation, revised ban, early marriage and deprivation of girls' child rights to education, what other challenges persist in the Gambia affecting women's development and growth?
I'm very glad you asked that, because irrespective of the role of women we talk about, women continue to face, discrimination in today's Gambian society in 2025. And I said this because, you talk about other laws. I think in 2021, after our first draft constitution was rejected in Parliament, we have a women's amendment bill to ensure that we have more women representation in Parliament. And you'll be surprised to know, not only that bill was rejected, but we couldn't even have a quorum in the National Assembly to discuss about women representation, and at this time of our history, which is something very sad. And then we continue to have less women in Parliament, and we continue to have less women in the executive. You talk about the FGM bill, and you have seen internationally how Gambian women actually take a stand to ensure that their health rights are protected, their sexual and reproductive health rights are protected. So these are the daily fights of Gambian women, and the struggle continues.
In all of these, how crucial is the campaign towards empowerment and access to affordable health services for the Gambian women?
Unfortunately, for Gambian women, we have seen in the past decade a lot of Gambian women not having access to basic health care, which is very worrying. And it has resulted to the loss of lives of women. It has resulted to women having sicknesses and diseases that are very difficult to cure. And women are sitting with all those things in their homes suffering. But again, our society is still not open enough to see that these are the very factors that resulted in women dying or in women suffering from these diseases.
How much of legislation or legislative efforts have gone into addressing this? In your other submission, you made of the fact that there was no quorum to even talk about women activities and women stuff and pass bills that affect women positively.
It continues to be a lip service, unfortunately. It continues to be a lip service. Every day you hear the issue of women inclusion and all that. But it's a greater problem, starting from our political parties being ready to integrate women in their party executive, being ready to, put women as candidates in their winnable locations. Also being ready to ensure that women in their political parties are empowered enough to be able to be rendered opportunities that men in the political parties are enjoying. And for me, with more women in Parliament, it will be easier to address this. Yes, you have some groups like the Committee on Gender at our National Assembly are currently doing internal efforts to see that legislation responds to women in leadership and participation needs in the country. But again, it's beyond what happens in our National Assembly. It becomes a collective responsibility in every facet of society to see that we intentionally level the playing field so that women are also able to vie for these positions and be able to win.
Again, Job, Deputy Speaker of the National Youth Parliament of the Gambia. In the world of sport, the draw for the quarterfinals of the 2024-2025 CAF Championship League will take place in Doha, Qatar on Thursday. The 8 remaining clubs for the continent will lend their part to the final. The 4 group winners will be drawn against the 4 runners-up, though they cannot meet the team who advanced to the knockout stage from their pool, according to a CAF official website. The draw for the semi-finals will be conducted at the same time. Record 12-time winners Al Ahly of Egypt are seeking to become the first team ever to lift the trophy 3 years in a row. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flag within the program, 50-50 with Nadiri Titi. I am Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio.